Hi, I'm Ken Lockie, and in this episode we meet with Jan Sheehy and Mike Sheehy, the Milkhouse Heaters. Here they are with their first song, Has Been.
I'm just one sucker punch drunk, sobered up and wearing my bloody heart on my sleeve. And it's no fun being the last one to leave the party, and my shit's going down. I'm just one working class punk, razorback charm, but at least I never sold my soul for rock and roll. And it's no fun being the last one to leave the party, to leave the party, and my shit's going down. I could use that life for now. What's it gonna take to get an even break? I'm not looking for a favor, I'm looking for a fair shake. But I'm just one, yes, I'm just one, I'm just one.
I'm Laura Lockie, and I am so pleased to be here with Jan Sheehy and Mike Sheehy of the Milkhouse Heaters. And they have honored us with their presence here in beautiful downtown Brattleboro's BCTV studios. First time for Inside Local Music in the studio. And we are thrilled to have you here, so thank you for coming.
Oh, we're
Thank
so
you for
happy
having
for the
us, yeah.
invitation. We were glad to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got together? You came up through the Boston music scene, is that right?
Yep.
That is right. That is
We
right.
met in the Merrimack Valley in Lawrence, Mass. I was rehearsing with a band, and Jan was kind of on an audition in another room upstairs. I didn't have a light. I smoked back then, and I was going to a couple of rooms looking for a light for my cigarette, and I knocked on the door, and I tell people that's where I met my match.
Oh,
And
that's great.
So from that meeting, that band didn't work out, and it was a few weeks before I was called again to go back to an audition with some of the same people. But my only question was, is that bass player going to be there? Because at the time Mike was playing bass, and I was told that he was. So I went back. So I wouldn't have gone back otherwise. So it was there was just something about Mike, the way he played, Just his personality is just somebody I wanted to know better and play music with. So,
Yep.
yeah. So we've been playing music now 37 years
That
together.
was 1988.
Yeah.
1988 when that
Yep.
happened.
So,
So
yeah.
what were some of the other bands that were playing around Boston at that time?
Fahrenheit was one of the big bands. Another band was called O Positive. The Zulus.
Zulus. I think we did a gig with them, right?
I think we
Which
did.
They were Human Sexual Response, and
Before
then they
that.
changed their name.
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you remember
I
them?
remember them.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
remember
they
them.
were a
Yeah.
great band. I mean,
yeah.
the Zulus were a great band too.
And Fahrenheit was Joe Perry's band, Joe Perry Project. So Charlie Farron and David Height. So
Joe Perry, Charlie Farron sang for Joe Perry.
and David played bass, didn't he?
He did, yeah, he did.
So
Yeah.
so they were some of the big bands. Till Tuesday had just broken out of Boston when we met.
So did you play with a band that included other instrumentation?
It was a typical four-piece rock band.
Mm-hmm.
I was the bass player. Jan was a singer, and we had two guitarists. We were a five-piece when we started.
And then I
Somebody
played.
left the band.
Right, so I started playing rhythm guitar, and we were a four-piece from that point on. And we've played music from many different genres. We were a rock band, we were a punk band, we were a kind of a two-tone ska punk band for a while, and then back to rock again. So a lot of different styles. I mean, Mike had a reggae past
Yep,
as a
I
bass
played
player.
Some
Wow.
reggae stuff.
And I started as a folk singer, so we've covered a lot of different genres, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with our history.
Yeah, so
So-
what would you consider the genre of music that you play now?
That's something we've been trying to figure out and pin down. We call ourselves indie folk now. When we first started, we used
Americana.
Americana. There was no alt country choice there, or indie folk or anything like that.
Yeah,
Back in 2013, I
It
think
was hard to find a label for ourselves, and
Yeah.
it still is in a lot of ways, because we still have that bit of a rocking edge, you know, that hasn't left.
we're
So-
kind of a rock band that plays folk songs, or a folk duo that plays rock songs.
yeah.
Whatever your choice.
Right, right,
But
right.
Yeah, well, I think you really capture the spirit of America. You know, maybe not Americana, but there's that real feeling of, resilience, and times are tough, but we're going to get through this. You know, we've got the grit. You
Oh,
know?
well, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
It's definitely on point with a lot of our stuff, I think.
right.
Yeah. So, how did you come across the name the Milkhouse Heaters?
So that happened when we were making the transition from Boston to Vermont. I was looking around, I had a few ideas, but I came across the name the Milkhouse Heater, which was invented in Vermont, and it was invented in the year I was born, 1960. So I thought it was a great name, and I mentioned it to Jan, and she really liked it, and everybody has really liked the name a lot, and it's fitting, and
Yeah, yeah. And it was the first electric heater that shut off when it tipped over. So that was the nice thing about the invention, was this intrepid Vermont dairy farmer who didn't want to burn his barn down if one of the girls kicked over the heater.
That's a big problem.
Yeah, exactly. So it just seemed very, very Vermont, you know, and it just seemed like that would define us, because this is our new home. We've been here. We've had the land since 2003. We've lived here since 2007, so we've been here 18 years. So, yeah.
And the name has stuck with us, and even though our style of music has slightly changed, one of the things we did back in Boston, which was a big mistake, was we changed our name a lot. We thought every time we had new members come in that we had to come up with a new name and a new identity, and that really worked against us. I think if we had just stuck with one name and just let the style change,
Right.
we really would have been much better off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You would have had more of a following. So
I
what
think so,
was-
yeah.
What was the main name? What would have been the main name?
Well, when we opened for the Black Crows, we did a gig, opened for the Black Crows at a big outdoor festival. We were called Black Market Medallions.
That's so great.
That was that. So that was the lineup that did the most.
But before
yeah.
that, we were called Organica, which really didn't fit us.
No, Organica did not fit us. Murder of Crows.
Murder of Crows was a name for a while. And then we changed that name because Sheryl Crow broke around the same time.
Counting Crows.
Counting Crows.
Oh, yeah.
And there were a couple of other crow.
Well, and we laughed because when we picked the Milkhouse Heaters, we had the Milk Carton Kids. I mean, it's
They
just one of
came
those
out
one of
around the
those things
same
with
time.
names you just can't seem to get your own really original.
There's
there's-
the zeitgeist.
Right,
You just can't fight it. you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly.
Here's the Milkhouse Heaters performing Pontiac Kid.
Smoking clove cigs and drinking out of mason jars. You claim to be the Pontiac Kid from New York, but you're just a wreck in a rusty old car. Boston won't have it, and Cali's just a little too far. So you throw on a Stroke CD and talk about where you've been and where you want to be. You know, the time we're the most real is when we talk about our dreams. I know you have your standards, I used to be like that, but I got a job that pays pretty good these days, and I just can't quit. So I eat a little humble pie and take the hit. So roll on, my troubled friend. Something's waiting for you at the end of this road, but you're gonna have to pay a little dues and a whole lot of tolls. Finally quit the cigs and drinking in the old dive bars. Got no claim on nothing, but at least I have a decent guitar. Boston's like a dream, and Cali's got too many stars. So I'll write another song on the fly and play it over and over and over and over and over and over till I'm satisfied. You know, the time we're the most real is when we talk about our dreams. And I still have my standards, but I left a few behind. 'Cause I got too much to risk and not enough time. So roll on, my troubled friend. Something's waiting for you at the end of this road, but you're gonna have to pay a little dues and a whole lot of tolls. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay a little dues and a whole lot of tolls.
The CD that's on Spotify, did you record that here in Vermont?
We did.
Okay.
And we recorded that with an old friend from Boston who just happened to be moving here just ahead of us coming here. We were looking in the area, and we were looking at the local music newspaper in Boston, and there was a mention of Pete Weiss, who had Zipper recording studio in Brookline, Mass. That he was starting up a new studio and moving to like the same area, just a few miles down the road from where we bought our land.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so
Where is that?
It was in Athens, Vermont.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we
So-
recorded there.
Yeah, and it was really lovely. It was like a retreat. So bands would come from Europe and they'd stay there a month or two. So he had one big communal room with a table and bunk beds and a pot-bellied stove, and then there was a kitchen and a bath off of that, and bands would just live there and record.
You've written songs about topical things like climate change and racism and income inequality, you know, thematically. What sparks you to want to write a song?
It could be anything. It could be, like you said, I made it wait till Monday, which was about the KKK coming into this neighborhood and these two 10-year-old kids that took on these these guys and saved the whole neighborhood from having to deal with, which was a true story, dealing with the flyers that they left on everybody's door. And nobody knew about it because they removed everything. That was just, I heard that story at the beginning of the pandemic on NPR, and I just thought that has to be a song. And yeah, they just come to me, and I don't really use prompts or anything. It's just somebody might say something, and it makes me think of something, and it just starts a process of writing a song.
So do you write lyrics, or how does that break
So
down?
we both write. Mike writes prolifically. He's, 10 or more songs to every one that I might write. I will arrange for Mike if he needs it. I'll occasionally finish a song that you'll hand off to me.
Pontiac Kid, the first song, or the second song that we did,
Yeah, so, Mike
I
will-
wrote the first half, and then I kind of hit a wall with it, and I didn't want to push it and come up with really trite lyrics, or so I just said, I threw it in Jan's lap, and I said, can you work on this and finish it? And she did a great job, and
Yeah,
we
so
did that a lot in the old days, playing rock.
a lot of co-writing, and as a bass player now, Mike doesn't tell me what to play, so all the bass parts, all the harmonies, all of that, that's my contribution when I'm not actively, writing with him. Those parts are all just things that I come up with.
Yeah, and your
So-
voice is so outstandingly
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you.
And it's just, amplified with the harmonies and the fact that you live together and you work together so closely. It's just become such a rich sort of interwoven tapestry of
Oh,
sound.
thank
It's
you.
just an amazing thing. It
Thank
really,
you.
Really wonderful.
It took me a long time to get Mike to sing.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
This project was me kind of breaking out, and I was always writing songs and then bringing them to singers, and I was always lucky to work with great singers, and Jan, was probably the best, but it didn't matter how good a singer was. When you have an idea for a song, and in your head you have a vision of it going a certain way and being sung in a certain meter or something, and it didn't matter how good the singer was. They were just, and it's part of the human condition to make it your own. And I used to do these 4 tracks, and I would drive people crazy because I would bring in the 4-track, and like the drummer would be like, "That's a drum machine. You expect me to play like that?" And I know when I was a bass player, I hated when people tried to put me in a box and say, play this, and I always wanted to add my own parts. So I tried to let go, but I was always not quite satisfied. So although, Jan would add better stuff than I could think of because she's a singer. So, but you know,
Well, I also listened to you. I took your, Mike has a really interesting sense of time and the way that he phrases. It's very specific. And he divides time in very interesting ways, and he just couldn't get a lot of singers to phrase things the way that he wanted them to be phrased.
and
But
it's
he would-
hard to get somebody to
Yeah.
copy that.
And he would write these great songs, and then it was just like, I would just say, why aren't you singing your stuff? Because you know how you want it, and you've written it, and he would sing it very tentatively and just present the songs to people. I'm like, you should be singing them. So now he is.
So now this is,
That's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
You two sound great together.
Thank you.
Do you have physical product? Is there a CD that you've produced that people can buy at gigs or something?
yeah, we have our old CD, Farm Hands and Factory Girls, which was recorded in 2013. We would love to get something new. We have so many of those because we had like 1,000 of them printed. Sometimes we give them away. Sometimes we just do an offering, throw whatever you have in a box and take a CD. Because there's the old joke, it's a million seller, we have a million in our cellar. And,
I know the feeling.
Right, right,
Sure
right.
do.
but we're really hoping to get something new done, and we will record a CD, and we do put stuff up on line. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to make physical product these days, but it does at gigs because
Right.
people like to go home with something.
do.
and-
Right, right.
Yeah,
Some
no,
people.
they like to support, what you're doing. and-
Right,
yeah.
right. And some people still have, a CD player in their car. Other people still have them in their houses. So, but streaming is a lot of people are just doing everything digitally. But we do think that having a physical copy is still important.
Yeah.
But we do have a YouTube channel. That's our address is YouTube / the Milkhouse Heaters, and there's 28 or 29 videos up on that.
And we're going to be doing more
Yeah,
of those.
we're-
So do you get royalties? Do you get like a check from Aspen?
No, because we
again,
dropped the
because
ball
we-
on that.
Yeah.
We just have never had good luck finding people that could maybe manage us, give us direction, help us. It's just very difficult. And when you're focused on just playing music, just
Yeah.
writing music, and I mean the business end of the music business it's tough stuff.
It is tough, it's complicated. It's changed so much.
We
and-
had
Yeah.
a lawyer that was
Yeah.
helping us at the time, and we thought, oh, this is great. He's going to take care of everything. But really what he did was he used us to connect with other people in the business. You think somebody's going to come in and just take over, but you really got to be smart. You got to
right.
go
We-
take some classes, and
Yeah, we just weren't savvy enough.
we weren't savvy enough. I've learned since that, like at the Black Crowes gig, there was 30,000 people there. And I was a member of BMI, and I've sent in a few songs, but I was really lazy about that. And what I didn't know at the time was when you do a gig, what you can do is you can list the songs you play at that gig and file it with,
with your performance rights organization.
Right.
yep,
And get paid.
get paid
Yeah.
based on how many people were there.
there.
Yeah.
And
So that would have been a nice paying gig.
Would have been a check.
Yeah,
It would have been a
it
good
would have been a
check.
check.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's live and learn. When you're an artist, and with no background in business, it's overwhelming. So people that are starting out in the music business should make sure that they go to school and learn some business.
So what does the future hold for the Milkhouse Heaters? What's coming up?
We're going to move into part-time retirement and just play music.
Yeah.
And just
Yeah.
start,
Right.
and then hopefully go full-time with the music and not work our day jobs.
Right.
And
Right.
Any gigs coming up?
So we do have gigs starting in May, and I should have had that list ready for you. I don't, but we
It's on our website.
It is on the website.
It'll be updated.
Everything is at www.themilkhouseheaters.com. We do hope that we'll be playing locally at the Scott Farm Orchard over in
Played there
Dummerston.
last year a few times.
Yeah, that's a great place to play. It's very intimate. We'll play for 3 hours, hopefully a few times this summer. So look for us there locally.
We'll be there on
Yep.
different Saturdays and
Yep.
Sundays.
And we've had some great shows over at Bar 580, which has been great. So you might catch us there on a Thursday night.
Here are the Milkhouse Heaters performing their last song, Money Don't Talk.
Money don't talk, but people talk to money. They say, money, I love you, and I can't live without you. Money can't talk, but money make people squawk. Make them work around the clock, and make them work for a jerk of a boss. Your money won't make me move, and it won't make me change my tune. Yeah. Money don't make the world go round, but gravity can make your money fall to the ground. And that's a fact, like the world ain't flat. Your money won't bring you sweet dreams in the night, but money bring you nightmares in broad daylight. Oh, right. Money, 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 who? 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 Money, 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 money. I knew a millionaire. He lived on a hill. He drank a lot of wine, and he took a lot of pills. He wasn't very happy till he came down that hill, and he saw all the people living on thrills. P.S. don't walk, can't walk around the block, but that's what you have to do to get that mess right off your shoe. Yeah, money don't talk and BS don't walk. Money don't talk and BS don't walk. Money don't talk and BS don't. It don't do nothing.
It don't.
Walk.